Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dad's Doing It podcast. My name is Ismael Santiago, and I'm a Dad's Doing It ambassador. Tonight, we're going to be talking about food and diet. But before we get started, I'm going to kick it off to the other fathers involved tonight.
I'll go. What up, man? What up, everybody? Derek, father of two, a 12-year-old and a 12-year-old daughter, 9-year-old son. Job as real estate professional. Yeah, looking forward to this conversation for sure.
Hey everyone, Thomas Hampton, father of two, age 1, age 10, also a real estate professional.
What's up, everybody? It's Larry, owner of Famous Barbershop, father of two. Here to kick it with y'all.
And Larry's in the middle of a haircut right now, guys. That's why we don't see him. He's in the background. Uh, and I have six kids, age 26, 23, 22, not 20, 19, and 16. And I also have a grandson that's 2 years old. But
God damn. Those,
yeah,
those are
no.
kudos numbers.
But yeah, so tonight we're gonna be talking about food and diet. Um, and we're gonna get started. So guys, what is it that you guys eat? Like, how is your eating habits? Again, like, how did you guys eat when you were kids? How was it? Was it Sunday dinners every day? What was on the menu? And then what are those foods? Do you still eat them today, or has your eating habits changed throughout the course of life?
I vote Thomas to go first.
Yeah, I was an avid glizzy eater. No, I'm joking.
Oh, my
Um, for me, I mean, I grew up as an athlete. And what I mean when I say that is I had a very fast metabolism, so I really I ate anything I ever wanted. And also just, playing basketball 24/7, kept me in shape. But once my basketball dreams kind of died out after high school, I still ate whatever I wanted. I didn't start seeing a change in how my body responded to that till I was 25. And that's when I started realizing, wow, I'm getting a little chubby here. And yeah, so I mean, I've never had like great eating habits because I was very fortunate to have a fast metabolism, but as I had gotten to become a young adult, my metabolism slowed down, which forced me to take my health a little more seriously. But I can't sit here and lie. I don't have the best eating habits. I just got done eating 4 buns. And I'm a big snacker. I don't eat a lot of like fried foods and like pork and all that greasy stuff. For the most part, my eating is decent. The chicken, the rice, the vegetables. I'm just a big snacker. So my philosophy around parenting has always been lead by example. I will say I do not lead by example the best in when it comes to food. Uh, but I do monitor. Not that I think it makes a big difference. Kids follow what they see. But I do monitor. I did raise Noah to, only drink water. I only drink water. I don't drink soda, juice, none of that stuff. I'm just an avid water drinker. That's all I drink. And same goes for Noah. So I'm glad that he carried on that habit. But again, I'm a snacker. But yeah, I'm not the best or healthiest eater. Still working on that, and hoping that I can get a handle on that soon. So
Yeah, I think it's tough, right? Because there's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of things that were similar growing up to right now. I didn't have a fast metabolism. However, I was playing a sport since I was like 7. And then, once ninth grade hit, I was in the gym, so that's I've been in the gym for, almost 30 years now, right? Like from when I was ninth grade, almost 30 years until now. So it's kind of like the same thing when I was younger, and I was always a bigger kid and playing football, I was, offensive line. So it was good to stay bigger. And even though I was a lot stronger then as well, and just, more solid being closer to 255 pounds ish. Um, I was going through a lot because I was still working off a lot. And then as I got older and the sports became less, the eating was, the appetite was still there. Um, and then when kids came in and the workout routine hit differently because the life routine was different, then the metabolism continued to slow down. Like it got really, really difficult, to balance all that. And I've been called like big guy like my entire life, right? And that was always like, people said it as a term of endearment, but I hated it, and I still kind of hate it. There's like two people in my life that have ever gotten away with calling me a big guy, and it didn't affect me. But like I always tried to get away from it, right? Like I was always the big kid, and I didn't feel as comfortable in my own skin until like college when there was no more football, but I had so little responsibility that I was in the gym a lot, and was in the best shape of my life. Had like a 4.5 pack, but like I ran like 2 miles every day along with the gym playing basketball. So it was good. And so I've always mentally tried to um live up to that standard. And then, it's just that realization of changing things. And when we start talking about how it goes with our kids, like that's when good night, bud. That's when I will talk about that. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind from when I was growing up to right now.
How about you, Larry?
Shoot, for me, I grew up. I grew up with my Puerto Rican side. I'm black and Puerto Rican. I grew up with my Puerto Rican side, so I grew up eating, rice and beans and steak and pork and all types of stuff. Um, which is all fine and dandy and everything. But as I grew older, I learned to listen to my body. You know what I mean? So all the time when I was younger, I'd eat and have stomach problems and just think that it's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? I thought everybody, for example, I thought everybody ate a bowl of cereal and then their stomach hurt and they had to go take a dump. I just thought that's what it was. It wasn't until later I found out I was lactose intolerant. You know what I'm saying? Um, but as I get older and listen to my body, I stop eating a lot of things. Um, I don't eat red meat no more. I don't eat pork no more. Um, I eat chicken, some fish, turkey. You know what I'm saying? But I cut out a lot of things. I don't drink soda. Recently, this past Easter, I started fasting on candy. So what happens with me is like if I start fasting on something for like 30 days or something, it turns into a couple years or something. Um, so I haven't had candy really since Easter. Um, and then like my eating habits, I pretty much fast throughout the day. I'm starting to try not to have cereal anymore and maybe have like some eggs and something that's gonna better feed my body. Um, but I try to incorporate all of that into my kids' eatings. My daughter, she was cool with it for a while, but now she's starting to go back to eating the red meat and things like that. And then sometimes complain about her stomach, and I try to tell her what it is. But my son is like, man, he doesn't eat any meat but chicken. Um, he won't even eat fish or nothing like that. He drinks nothing but water. I probably corrupt him with the juice and the soda and stuff, but I haven't been drinking soda that much neither. Um, but my son is just he's the total opposite, and I like it. And like Noah too, he's a water connoisseur. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that's pretty cool because I don't drink enough water, to be honest. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on for food. I like to listen to my body, pay attention to my body. You know, my mother died when I was young, so I don't have nobody to be like, "Hey, you're allergic to this," and you know what I mean? Kind of got to find out by trial and error. But it wasn't until later on in my adult life that I started to try to really listen to my body and stuff.
Yeah, I'll say for me, my eating habits when I was young, I was probably like how Thomas was. I ate anything and whatever I could, especially so I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 8 years old. And, prior to that, I pretty much ate anything. And I was a bit of a chunky boy. I was a little husky because I remember my mom saying she used to buy my clothes in the men's section and then just get them hemmed so that they were the right height. I don't ever feel like I was that big, but I know I was a massive size baby as well. Like I wasn't your average size baby. I was a monster for a baby. And then that just transitioned into like my state of mind because in my head I'm a massive person even though I stand 5'6". But as far as my eating habits go, um I remember when I became diabetic being like hurt that I can't eat a candy bar anymore. Right, so I lived a diabetic lifestyle and I still ate rice and beans and everything like and foods like that because I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. My mom's Dominican, my father was the Puerto Rican one. And I know when I was real young, it was my grandmother that did some cooking because my mom was working a lot. And then as we got older, my mom was more involved with the cooking. But it was a lot of rice, some, meats, whether it was chicken or some sort of beef, a lot of pork shoulders or pernils, especially during the holidays. Um, you know, when I think back, it was a lot of starches and some meats. A
Mhm.
lot of fried foods. Not the best diet to grow up in. And then for myself being a diabetic back in those days. I'm about to be 46 now, so back then there really wasn't sugar-free drinks. Your option was water and diet soda. And if I didn't have a bottle of diet soda, I was like a fiend. I was miserable. I was like miserable if I couldn't have soda, and I would drink a 2 liter bottle of soda within like hours of it being bought for me. And if I
Yeah.
didn't have a bottle of soda, I was like miserable, being annoying trying to drink that soda. And then obviously throughout the years, as I got a little older, I'm not gonna call it that statement, but I ate a lot of hot dogs and oodles and noodles, like a massive amount of that stuff, especially like, when you start transitioning to living on your own,
Yeah.
that was the affordable diet back then. Hot dogs and oodles and noodles, and back then,
FYOD.
yeah, Chef Boyardee, exactly. Back then a 20 pack of oodles and noodles, the ramen, that was like $1.50 back then, where it's a little more now because of inflation, but the diet back then wasn't great as an adult, and more so as in the last year or so. Like I gave up pork, maybe a couple years ago, and I never really was big on red meat because again, like similar to what happens to Larry, it like messed with my stomach. And anytime I ate red meat, I was like, man, that just hits me in a way that it didn't feel good. So I ate a lot of chicken, and about a year ago, I just gave up meat entirely, and I haven't had a piece of meat since then. I feel great. I eat a lot of fruits. I eat a lot of nuts and seeds. I love avocados. I still eat eggs, but I'm thinking about giving that up at some point too. I,
Not
I
meat
don't know.
yet.
Huh?
I said it's not meat yet. The
Yeah,
egg.
no, yeah, yeah. Egg technically it's a
Yeah, it's
protein,
just
it's
a
a meat,
dead
but it's really
chicken.
not. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
even.
It's
It's
just
not
not
chicken
even.
yet.
I wouldn't even call it a dead chicken. That's the like the
That's
embryo,
chicken.
the embryo, or just some pus that we boil that we either boil or
Yeah.
fry in a pan.
Is
If
this
you really
chicken
think about it.
pus?
Yeah, it's just chicken pus. That's all it is. No big deal, guys.
You know that's what
So
milk is.
yeah, milk is cow pus. Listen, we're the
So
Yeah,
only species that
yeah,
after adulthood continue to drink milk, and it's another species that we're drinking.
yeah.
No other species does that.
it's because
So
it's delicious.
My boy Gator Boy used to tell me, and I always gotta do like his voice every time I tell Gator Boy story, but he used to be like, yo, L, you still drink milk? He used to be like, shoot, you might as well drink dog milk. And I used to be like, Gator, you crazy. But then thinking about it, we might as well. Because why do we drink cow milk? Just because, they see how big a cow gets. So all right, we might get that big. You know what I mean? That's really
There,
it.
there is an answer to that. I don't know what it is, but somebody like goat milk, cow milk, and um, I forgot what it was, but there is a
Camel, camel milk is the best. It's supposed to be the best.
who?
Camel,
Yeah,
camel milk. Yep, it's supposed to. You can look it up later. That's supposed to be like the actual like best milk on the planet.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm sure. I'm sure
Look
there's
it
some
up though.
facts to it, but I'm sure there's some facts to it. But I've never tried no camel's milk. I
I
have
swear
had
to
goat.
God.
I've had goat cheese before on accident. I didn't realize I was eating it. I've had goat cheese, and that has a little bit of a weird taste.
Yeah,
But
it's different, but
yeah,
I like I'm growing up. Um, my mother is Italian, and my father was from the South, and so he brought like Southern cooking, and he was a chef. So food was never a problem in the Johnson household growing up. You know what I mean? And like it was my father would cook breakfast almost every morning, like before school, and he would just cook dinner plate sized pancakes like every morning, like routine. And even when we weren't hungry, they were delicious, so we would just keep eating them, my brother and I. And um, it was a lasting effect, and it was like the mode for a lot of parents growing up was like, clean the plate, right? Like you put it on your plate, you eat it, right? Like that was the thing. It didn't matter if you weren't hungry, you put it on your plate, you eat what's on your plate, right? Clean plate club was like the thing that we had. And I think that mentality was like was really hard to break over time. And I think it wasn't until really that college time frame. And there was a book, Ab's Diet by David, starts with a Z. I think it's like Zdenko. He's an editor for Men's Health. And I read that when I was at Fitchburg State, like right around the time that I met my wife too. And it was more just about like the mindset because it was, um, I had a really good plan from playing football and talking to sports professionals about like, what's proper nutrition and things like that. And, just reading Men's Health and Men's Fitness magazines and all those things, blah, 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 blah. But it was really tough for me to give it still is like sweets and like just in general, like I would consider, I don't know if I'm a big back, if that's the term, but I'm definitely like, I love food, right? You know what I mean? And so it's really tough to play um you know you only got one life to live, so enjoy it. And that's twofold. Enjoy it by being healthy enough to physically enjoy it, or enjoy
yeah,
it to indulge, right? And that's the fine line that just gets harder as you get older, right? Because I'm grateful that I don't have any setbacks, dietary setbacks, like except for like I'm allergic to shellfish, so I just don't eat shrimp and lobster, which is fine. But I don't have anything else that's holding me back from eating, kind of whatever I want. And so it's all about the mental state. And that is hard to do when it comes to the parenting too, right? Because 12 years old, like my daughter is, she's a stereotypical picky eater. you know, and she's a beanpole to begin with, so I'm not really worried about the excess. I'm worried about her getting enough. Um, and you know, overall she's fine. Like I don't have any worries, but you know, she'll have like a couple of chicken fingers, um, and like three carrots, and then call it a night. And she's like, "No, I'm good." And I'm not gonna force her to eat, right? But I'm like, Brooke, like you gotta have you gotta have more in your system, kiddo. It's like you know, you're a basketball player, you're 12 years old, you know, you gotta have energy for school and all these things. And she's like, "No, I'm good." And then my 9-year old is a foodie, right? Like he wants to try everything. You know, he wants to bake everything. He wants to cook everything. He loves cooking with mom. He loves cooking with dad. He takes it on his own to put stuff together, but he houses fruit. He houses vegetables. You know, and so as long as he's doing good with the healthy choices that he's leading, which is, you know, sort of what I've been trying to do and what we've been trying to do. You know, the two of them do all right. You know, I think it's tougher to be the do as I say, not as I do when I'm eating the food that I'm telling them not to in front of them, right? So obviously I don't do that, but like I gotta sneak stuff now because I'm telling them not to do this. But I'm going to the gym and trying my best to work off the ho-hos and the brownies, right? And the peanut butter banana and stuff like that. And at the same time tell them not to do that because you know it's
So,
great.
so Derek, two questions,
Yeah.
right? Do you prefer big back over big guy, or none of the above?
Yeah.
Because and also, so do you literally still eat ho hos and
So neither and no.
okay,
Like so and it's funny, like 20 minutes ago we were talking because um Brooklyn called Avery. She said that he was doing like big back activity or something like that. Like
yeah,
just trying to eat. And Avery got mad. He's like, bro, leave me alone. And you know she was laughing and my wife was laughing and then we started talking about like she's you know my wife was trying to defend Brooklyn saying you know she's just calling him a foodie and I'm like no people don't say big back as a compliment like a foodie is on Instagram taking photos and like you know hey check out this cool plate you know in downtown Leominster it's like a big back is just like blah 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 I'm like no one no one wants to be called that. So yeah, neither, no, I honestly don't do like the super processed um desserts to be honest. I don't like any of that stuff. I
yeah,
just like flavor. If it's homemade or like the Hannaford's bakery, like forget about it. Like I'll eat half a sleeve of those cookies in 20 seconds. Uh
yeah,
Yeah.
but
See,
like
I'm
the
the opposite. I still love the Debbie snacks.
yeah.
I'm a huge I love Reese's. I'm not a big candy person. Like I don't eat like Starburst or Skittles or stuff like that. But I'm just a huge chocolate guy. I like chocolate is my drug of choice. Um, and you know, again, in moderation, right? But sometimes I abuse it. And that we're speaking about food and stuff. I think, I think to myself, I'm like, you know, my relationship with food, growing up, I do think, and I'm just being transparent and honest as I always am, because I'm not ashamed of my story and who I am, but I do think my eating of like sugary, you know, stuff is it's covering up something. You know how people are like, I'm not saying I'm depressed, I'm not depressed. But you know how like depressed people will eat to
Yeah.
cover something up.
yeah,
So I do, I got to do a little more digging and build some self-awareness around that. But I know that my relationship with snacks and sugary stuff, it's honest, like honestly, no exaggeration, like it's like a drug to me. Like
mhm,
that's my drug of choice. I joke around with myself sometimes. It's weird because I say it to myself. I go to my car. It's 9 o'clock. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go down the street, buy some snacks. and I say to myself, yeah, I'm gonna go pick up some drugs right now, and it's one of those things like I realized, if it's a pattern that continues, because I'm turning 31. I know that I'm only getting older, so I know my habits need to change
Mhm.
before, I hurt myself. And I think about that every day. I'm just like, I don't want to hurt myself. And what I mean by that is, becoming diabetic or,
Yeah.
you know, getting cancer because all the processed things that I'm eating or any of those types of things, knock on wood, God forbid. But um, I just, I'm aware of these things. It's somewhat of a like it's a drug of choice type of thing. So, I'm working on it. But I know I have a lot of progress to make. And similar to you, Derek, I do tell Noah, like if he has a snack, right? Like again, I'll be honest with you, I'll let him eat half of it, and then I'll eat the rest. Like if has like a bag of Skittles, which he never does, but just using that as an example, like I'd let him have a couple, and then like I'll probably throw away the Skittles like a couple days later. But
in, in
that's
his
that's
own
my
mouth.
that's my no, I don't eat Skittles, but that's my way around it. But I know it's not the most effective thing. Noah does a good job staying disciplined at his mom's. Like, he has said at times like his mom allows him to drink soda and juices. But like just the other day, he was telling me, I was like, hey, I was at mom's house and she offered me soda or Coke or something like that, and I just told her no, I just wanted water. And Noah does that too in restaurants. Like sometimes he'll get water. I'm like, are you sure you just want water? Like we're at Texas Roadhouse. Like, and he sticks to it. And that's because that started at a young age. So I'm glad that, went through. But I recognize I need to do better. And that's something that I think about and bring awareness to every day. But I will say, the sugary stuff for me is like a drug. So it's not
Have
easy, but
you noticed with Noah having that dynamic of the second household with the second opinion, right?
yeah.
And different standards and things of that. Have you has there been a time where you sort of had to like huddle up and just say, hey, listen, this is, have you had to have like a game plan around that, or is it just sort of like a natural, this is it here, that's it over there, it is what it is type of situation?
Yeah, I will say it's gotten easier as he's gotten older because when they're young, like they just do what they're told. But now, like Noah, he's always been good at using his voice and asking questions and stuff. So, you know, I always set the expectation. Of course, I've spoken to his mom in the past about, these certain standards and things, but, I can't control that. And,
Yeah.
she always feels that I'm trying to control or, tell her what to do anytime I'm trying to pass on just some helpful insight. So I just focus on my communication with Noah. It's like, hey, this is expectation, but I also show Noah the consequences of it, right? I remember in the beginning of all this, I think he might have been like four. Oh, no, 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 like five or six. And I would just Google pictures of like rotten teeth and I would show him like, dude, eating tons of soda and juices, like this is what your teeth can look like. Is that something you want? So I use like images and just showing him the consequences of certain things like that. And did it build fear? Sure, maybe I don't know. But ultimately, I didn't lead with fear. It was more just showing him, hey, if you're at mom's house and you're offered soda or you drink soda, just think about what the consequences could be of that. But I think as he got older, the communication got better just because he was, now he's at his mom's and he'll be offered soda and he won't be interested. So I'm happy about that. Noah is a snacker as well, but he's not like an abusive snacker like I am.
Yeah.
We'll enjoy, Rosa loves to bake and stuff. So like we'll enjoy like a cookie, brownie, or whatever. But I always monitor to make sure he doesn't abuse it because I know, that's, it wouldn't be the best thing for him. But I'm also grateful that he's also athletic and he shows, I know he's still young, but he shows to have a good fast metabolism. So, I'm happy about that. But yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And actually, kind of along the same lines for Iz and Larry, um, I wanted to ask you both a few minutes ago, but because the two of you and this is a two-part, it's like 1A and 1B, because the two of you have chosen to cut out meat, it sounds like for dietary reasons, and then eventually because of, ethical or choice reasons. Do you do your kids follow suit? Do you make them follow suit? Like how does that work out in your households?
You want to go first, Larry, or want me to take
Yeah,
this
I'll
one?
go first. I only got 2 kids.
Go ahead,
Um,
take it away.
so for me, it was kind of easier because I was pushing for my wife to like, listen, you don't have to switch, your cooking up just for me. You know what I mean? If you want to cook a steak dinner one night, cook a steak dinner. I'll just eat the potatoes and carrots. You know what I'm saying? But she's like, no, I'm not gonna do that, and I'm not gonna cook 2 different meals. So for us, it was just a matter of her just, you know, going with it too and just cooking for the whole house, and shopping that way too. You know what I mean? Um, so that's how that worked for me. And I just want to reiterate that, like, as people, as humans, we have to learn to listen to our bodies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And sometimes I learned this later on in adulthood. Sometimes allergic reactions, especially when you have allergic reaction with food, it's not always the hives and the throat swelling up. You know what I mean? Actually, an allergic reaction can also be or feel like discomfort in your stomach after you eat something. You know what I mean? So as people, we have to just learn to listen to our bodies and kind of do what our body do. When you're driving your car and your car starts acting up, you try to figure it out and you get whatever fixed. It's the same thing with our bodies. It's just I believe that as people we don't pay attention to that. But yeah, my kids, like I said, my daughter, she's in college now, so I'm sure we all know how that is living in college. That's where kind of that unhealthy eating habits kind of grow, just as a means of survival. Like Iz said, sometimes those packets of oodles and noodles will take you a long way on a hungry night. Um, so she's kind of like, back into eating some red meat, and she eats different anyways. She likes sushi, and I can't mess with none of that stuff. But
Can't do that.
for my son, yeah, he eats what we eat. He's actually more pickier than us because, like I said, he hasn't had red meat. So if we try to give him a real hamburger, he's not having it. If we try to give him even a turkey burger, he's not having it because he's not used to eating burgers, period. Um, but he did develop, and he does have my sweet tooth. My family on my mother's side, we all of us have a sweet tooth. It's bad. Sometimes you used to be able to come to my house and there'll be a big bowl of candy right there on the table, and it's not even Halloween. You know what I mean? So he kind of developed that. What I'm gonna do, I think, the start of the new year, because he told me he would fast on candy the next time I do it. So I think just on New Year's, I'm gonna see how he does, and have him not have him not eat candy for 30 days at least, and then see how that goes for him. But yeah, I mean, for to answer your question, Derek, it it's really like my wife that doesn't want to have to cook 2 different meals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
That.
definitely respect it,
Yep.
and um, it works out. at first you feel like an emptiness because people's like, man, no, I can't. I love my steak. I love the like. At first, you're gonna feel an emptiness when you're eating, but then it grows on you and you start to get full off of the things that you're eating. Um, but like I said, for me, it was just more. For years, I would have stomach issues and just stomach problems after eating, and I didn't know what was going on, and just kind of figured that certain things that we eat are not good for us. I always heard that red meat wasn't good for us. Our digestive system is not made to digest that. Our teeth are not made to properly rip the meat apart and chew the meat and stuff. You know what I mean? So I just figured, hey, let me try this for 30 days and see how it goes. 2 weeks into it, I stopped having stomach issues. And I was just amazed because, Derek, as an athlete, with working out or whatever, you're not going to see no results in 2 weeks. No results. You'll see some pretend results in 2 weeks, but not nothing real. You know what I mean? And out of
Yep.
all that sports I played, out of everything I tried to do, I never seen results 2 weeks later. So
Right.
I figured I was on the right track and just kept it going. Haven't looked back since.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's
What you
admirable.
got is
So for me, so yeah, my kids still eat meat. All of them do. All six of them still eat meat. My grandson eats meat. So, again, I stopped eating meat about a year ago. Actually, it was a year, September 28th. This September 28th made 1 year. And how I started that, it's like before I went full cold turkey, I was like, see, let me see if I can go without meat for a week. A week would go by. Yeah, then some. Then I'd eat some chicken, and then I did a couple weeks. Then I did 3 weeks, and then the next thing you know, I met my daughter. She was at college, Worcester State. She's there actually right now, her junior year. But this was her sophomore year. I met up with her September 28th of last year. We went to some Spanish restaurant, some Puerto Rican restaurant. Um, got some food, it came with meat, so I ate it. And then after that day, I haven't had meat ever since again. Um, my kids, when I gave up pork, my kids were a little disappointed because they thought I wouldn't make them up at meal anymore. So I still cook it all for them. So when I cook, if I cook rice and beans and chicken, I don't eat the chicken. I eat the rice and beans. And then every now and then, maybe sometimes I'll have some mushrooms. I'll add some mushrooms to it, or I'll eat some sweet potato, or I'll do asparagus or something. And then every now and then I cook a no meat meal, or like I'll do like a veggie wrap, or I'll cook, or I'll cook something meatless, and my kids will eat it, and they'll think it tastes good because I flavor the food, and and but for me, I didn't stop eating the meat really for ethical reasons. Um, if if that's what if that's what we had to do, was hunt to get our food, or grow farm to get our food. It is what it is. For me, I stopped because it's like I fell into a rabbit hole, and I fell into this rabbit hole really, really deep. And I'm still falling down the rabbit hole. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole because I started like researching food, and watching videos on food, and learning about the chemicals that they do to them, and learning about animals, and and not really how they're treated, but more about like what they do to their food, and you know what they're eating sometimes. Like I saw a chicken eating dead chicken, and I'm like, man, that's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like, I gave up pig a long time ago because it's a filthy animal, and for other reasons. And so then I'm like, man, let me just stop eating meat. And plus, like, I believe that the meat we eat today, they put so much chemicals, and even if you buy the meat that says no hormones and no this, no that, there's something just not right with what's going on. The fact that they can have so enough chicken to feed everybody in the world, you know, it, that didn't sit right with me, especially when I started watching all these videos. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to eat any meat anymore. And it wasn't just meat that I gave up. I gave up, like, I don't use adobo anymore, which is like that was a staple in my household. I gave up adobo, I gave up sazon, and I gave those items up because they use chemicals in their food.
What do you flavor your food with? Don't
With
put
this,
salt and pepper.
so if you think about it, adobo is just salt, black pepper, oregano, turmeric,
Oh, that
and and one other thing. I don't remember the one other thing off the top of my head. I just use that. Like I buy organic seasonings and I put that in my food. So I still season my food. It still tastes good. I just don't use adobo. Now, like in for those of you that don't want to do it, and I've also even Googled like how to make my own. I just haven't taken the time to actually make my own. I got the ratio of how to mix it and everything. There is a company called Luisa that makes an adobo, and it has no chemicals in it whatsoever, just the ingredients. I haven't bought it yet, but I can't find it up here. First of all, I would have to order it online. But I just buy I buy my spices and I use the same spices that are in the same container mix that came in adobo, but I just throw it on myself.
Yeah.
And I'm getting cleaner spices with no chemicals in it because even a lot of the chemicals will have an anti-caking agent in it, or they'll have some other. I know sazon. If you buy sazon, the one with achote, that has red 40 in it, and it's got like an anti-cake
overload.
agent, and it's got something else in it. So I just avoid all. I
The
do
yellow
I do
flag.
my best. I do my best to avoid all that stuff and to like try to really eat clean. Um, and in some cases it was hard, but in other cases it wasn't hard at all. I don't miss the meat. I don't miss using some of these ingredients because I found other ways to season my food. And I make my own sofrito. So I don't know if any of you buy sofrito at the store, like out the freezer or out the jar in the Goya. I make mine homemade. My sister-in-law showed me how to make that a little while ago. She told me what she uses in hers, and now I just blend it up in my Ninja. I freeze the extra, give some
Yeah.
away, and I use that to season my food, and that plus the spices, it tastes delicious. If you really think about it, you don't like the taste of the meat, you like the taste of the spices you put on it.
No,
Mhm.
I,
That's
I,
a
I
fact
just I
for me.
disagree with that one. Like I think all of the condiments, including the spices, are there as the flavor enhancers. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's so subjective. Like, yeah, there are a ton of people who would the meat is just like the vessel or that you're tasting all the spices on. However, I will say that like for vegetables, I'm very much that, right? Like um especially like grilling or in a stir fry, whether it's teriyaki sauce or all of the spices um on the vegetables. I put enough where I can barely taste the vegetables. So like I get that. And it's funny, because in a lot of not so much the spices, but like um dressing, right? Like I don't have a ton of dressing. Like Primal Kitchen has some pretty healthy options out there
yeah,
for a lot of their stuff. And I like their green goddess dressing. It's pretty tasty, and so I'll just cut up some chicken, put adobo or salt, pepper, and everything else, like just spice it up, throw in the air fryer, and then literally just like a wrap, lettuce, tomato, and this dressing, and that'll get me through like lunch, snack, and dinner a lot of times. Um, but the dressing has so and like in all of these things, not to your point, but kind of to your point about like staying healthy, even if you use organic and certified trade and non-GMO, like all these things still add up as far as like just the total calorie count too, right? And what I found that my son, because he's 9 and he's such a foodie, and he's trying to make the right decisions on all of these things. You know, the the switch is there of like going from processed, ultra processed to more natural, but you know, it's still a lot, and you know, and so it's I'm congratulating him for making the right choice. And you know, and sometimes I just let it be, but then sometimes I'm like, all right, but now we still have to have like less because there are times where he's like he's eating more than me, right? And it's because like he's a snacker, he's a grazer. And because there is a lot of food in this house, and I do a lot of cooking, and my wife does a lot of baking, right? And so there's always like food smells in this house, and so I get it, and you know that's the household that I grew up in. But it is still crazy, you know, to think about like the hidden calories in some of these things that whether it's
Hmm.
organic or you know just you know straight up in front of you, the portion control, and like that's we only got like 5 minutes left, but you know that's a topic that um you know is just sorely under it's not understood enough, you know, by parents and especially by kids is that portion control piece, right? Because even if you're doing things the right way, if you have too much of it, it's still, you know, it can turn into not great really quickly, you know,
Yeah.
and I do that a lot too. Like I overeat too much of a good thing, and I find Avery does sometimes too.
Are any of you board eaters? I know, like, I'm not a, well, damn, I can't say I'm not a snacker because I'll snack sometimes too. But I've just made healthier choices in snacking. But I will, like, if I'm at home bored, that's when it's like I'll start eating things that from what that I would normally eat, but now I try not to eat it. But then if I'm just sitting here bored in front of the TV, next thing you know, I'm like, oh, there's ice cream in the freezer. Oh,
Yeah,
strawberry ice cream. I'll take one scoop and eat that one scoop, and then it's like, literally like a few minutes later. So to your point, Derek, I do eat that Primal Kitchen,
yeah,
and because they don't use any seed oils or anything. I'm sure there's some chemicals in there, but then it's like it's hard sometimes to find that, you know, eating healthy and clean isn't necessarily easy, especially when there's so many things that are easy to buy
yeah.
that are just made for you. So for example, like I I sometimes will make my own tortilla wraps from scratch.
Mm,
Literally like four ingredients are in it and they taste really good. They're better than what I buy at the store, but it's like it's a long process to make
yeah,
them. You got to mix the ingredients, knead the dough, let the dough sit for a little while. Then I got a tortilla press, and to press tortillas for the amount of people I cook for isn't easy. That's a task in itself.
yeah,
So sometimes just going to the grocery store. I won't buy Market Basket brand because the Market Basket brand will say made with bioengineered ingredients, and that's probably the seed oil that's bioengineered. But I leave that one alone. But I buy the Chi Chis or the Missions, uh, which granted those aren't really they're better, but they're not much better because they still use like enriched processed flours
yeah,
but my point being is it's real easy to buy those for $2 for $5 versus going through the hassle of kneading my own dough.
yeah,
But there is some things that I definitely do no hard no. I'm not eating this. Um, I'll make it from scratch or I'll do something uh, like that. Um, I just try to eat healthy and avoid as many chemicals as possible because of all, and I think you mentioned this earlier, Thomas, about, being healthy, being, possibly catching cancer and everything. So it's like, and I started doing this about a year ago. Um, so I spent, let's say 43, 44 years of my life eating junk or eating, what I thought was good eating and completely turned that around. Um, but still trying to eat the foods that I like. There's somebody I follow. I believe his name is Jabari Reynolds, maybe. Um, maybe that's his name, but he has a book out where he says "Eat to Live" or something along the lines like that. And and I've actually got a few recipes from him because he's he's not a vegan or anything, but he calls himself a naturalite, and he grows a lot of his food. He does eat meat, but he just like the way he goes about making it and everything. It's just like a really clean process, no chemicals, and he shows some really good examples where I won't say I stole them because he'll tell you screenshot this recipe right here while you can see it,
Yeah.
you know, um, and and there's there were some good wins out of there. Like I know how to make pancakes from scratch, and they're actually really good. I took his recipe, made it his way one day, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna switch this up a little bit and put this in it, and it's still a clean ingredients, but just made it more to my liking. So
Yeah.
those are things I try to do to eat clean and eat better.
But
Um,
Derek, you said something earlier. You just mentioned the word mindset. And I think that's a big part of it,
Yeah.
because I think literally half my battle is just overthinking. Like every time I'm eating something I shouldn't, or maybe it's a little fatty or whatever, or greasy, like I'm so in my head about like, oh my gosh, this is, like I'm always like overthinking it. So sometimes I might think a little more than I should about um, you know whether eating this Reese's cup is gonna kill me or I don't know, whatever it might be. But I think mindset is a big part of it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we live in America where our foods are super processed. There's so much information out there on the internet about this is healthy, this is not healthy. I mean, I came across a video where it was a podcast, and this guy said he was some type of doctor, and he was like, "Yeah, fruit, don't eat fruit, or don't eat spinach." Like, there's so much
There's so much.
information. There's so much information out there, man. It's just like sometimes it's so hard to know, like, what's the right thing to do? Like, all right, let me just eat dust all day and drink,
Right.
water. Like they're like, oh yeah, don't drink this type of water. Don't drink. It's just like it's so annoying. So what has helped me is just stick to the basics, right? Make sure you get your exercise on a daily basis. Making sure I'm not overeating. I did that for a while, but I do a lot better. Like my first meal of the day is between 12 and 2.
Mhm.
I don't want to say that I fast because sometimes after I, don't eat, it's not the best thing. So it's like, hey, if you're gonna fast and then eat some BS, and then you're really just defeating the whole purpose. So
Yeah.
working on that, but I just wanted to say, I think mindset's a big piece of it, because sometimes overthinking just creates more stress and more overwhelm. And for some people, having more stress and overwhelm forces them to continue that cycle of, the bad eating habits. So I'm gonna keep that in mind moving forward about the mindset and being more aware of the type of stories or things I'm telling myself so that I'm not putting myself in any type of cycle.
Yeah.
Speaking of fasting, guys, have any of you ever done fasting or intermediate fasting?
I have,
Never?
yeah.
Yeah. How long have you gone fasting before, Thomas?
But the longest I've gone was, I think, 22 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
How about
Okay.
you, Larry?
So I do what's it called? Into what
Intermediate?
I do
Intermediate fasting?
and every day. I sometimes I don't eat breakfast and I don't eat until I get home. And then sometimes even then I get home late and I'll be more tired if anything. So I'm like, whatever, I'll just eat, you know what I mean, in the morning. But every day, yeah, I don't eat for hours. I don't eat breakfast and I won't probably have nothing until about like 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Um
Yeah.
sometimes if I do eat, In the morning, I've already been up for like 3 hours before I'm
Yeah,
eating it. You know what I mean? So I did learn not to eat exactly like when you get up. Give yourself like an hour and a half of being up before you actually eat something.
yeah,
So, but I've never, to answer your question, is I've never fasted like that. You know what I mean? Where I say, all right, for this weekend, I'm gonna fast. I want to, don't get me wrong. I want to try the 3 day fast
yeah,
because I hear that that kind of like cleans your system, cleans your gut out, detoxes your gut. Um,
yeah,
I just don't have the time to do it. And I know that sounds crazy and stupid, but I feel like I need the time just in case, you know,
yeah. It,
I can't be going to work and feeling weak and stuff like that if that's the case.
yes. So, yeah, I feel you, Larry, because there's definitely a mental piece to prepare yourself for that because I've done intermediate fasting or intermittent fasting, however we're supposed to say it, and I've done fasting in general. I've done several 24-hour fasts where all I would have is water, and I've done and I did a 40-hour fast once, and the only reason I stopped to eat was because I'm like I'm about to go shopping at the mall with my kids. I better eat something because I didn't want to I didn't want to break my fast eating some junk at the mall. So I was like,
Right,
let me just
right.
eat something at home that I know what it was going to be. But like it's become easier for me to do it, and I haven't done a fast in a while. Um, I will definitely say there is some positive results. Like you feel good, especially if you break your fast. When you do break your fast, you eat like some fruit or something on the healthier side, because it just feels amazing. And then whoever that video was where I don't know where they said don't eat fruit. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have some of the best results with my blood sugar when I focus on fruits. Um, and usually when my blood sugar goes out of control, uh, it's if I go to a restaurant and order some food, that'll like put me out of control for a few hours. Or if I eat some like processed crap that like looks like good food. But when I focus on like natural foods or with real ingredients, it has like a completely different effect on my blood sugar. So me being diabetic, that that's wonderful because it helps me maintain a good blood sugar. But for someone, I could only imagine what a great result that would be for somebody that's not diabetic. Because if I'm getting good results with being diabetic, if you're not diabetic, where your body works even, is more in tune with how it breaks down the sugars and everything, I could only imagine it's even a more positive result.
Yeah, my point was just there's so much BS and misinformation
Oh,
on the internet.
absolutely.
Yeah,
To your
it's
point,
just
Thomas, before we got on this call, there's some guy named Eddie Abreu that I follow, and he's like a carnivore diet type of guy. But
Hey,
but
can I jump in real quick?
yeah, go right ahead.
Sorry, no. I just want to say I'm about to go read to my daughter, so I got to split.
All right.
But I just wanted to say, obviously, I appreciate y'all, and I wanted to go to bed before her bedtime. But yeah, always a great time. I appreciate y'all, and I got to split to go read with my daughter.
We understand. You got to keep up with them fatherly duties.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
do that.
All right. Thank you, Derek.
All right, later, y'all.
Peace.
So, guys, do you guys want to do closing remarks right now too, or do
yeah,
you guys
just
want
close it out. Yeah.
to? All right, go ahead, Thomas. What in closing? What do you got to say?
Mindset is everything. What you think about, you bring about. Health as well. You don't have to be perfect. You just gotta stay consistent.
Yeah, and stop eating all those snacks, Thomas.
Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
know those Debbie snacks. We went to a bakery today and I saw homemade cream pie. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's
Oh, the
different.
oatmeal cream pies. Oh my God.
Homemade though.
It was, yeah, well, it was at a bakery, so it was like one of those like real ones. It wasn't like a Debbie snack, but
Yeah,
um,
I guarantee you, every little Debbie snack box says um, made with bioengineered ingredients. Go look at the
yeah,
box.
man. And I finished the box maybe a day and a half.
Really?
So I go a little crazy with those. But anyways, do your best, stay consistent, always be
What?
aware of your thoughts and self-awareness.
All right,
Peace
Larry.
out.
What about you?
Yeah, man. I mean, the only thing I really want to tell the people is just listen to your body. You know what I mean? Pay attention to your body. Your body's gonna give you all the signs of what you can eat. Everybody's different. You know what I mean? Just because um your partner may not eat meat and may not eat this, and they may be thriving on a health level, and it may seem like it's not affecting you the same ways because everybody's body is different. Um, just pay attention to your body and eat well.
Yeah, and in closing, I'll say, do your research out there. Pay attention, to Thomas's point. There's a lot of, I'll say fake news out there about food, but yeah, definitely do your research. Eat what makes you feel good. Stay away from the processed foods, and if it comes in a box, most likely it's not the best option for you. But yeah, and again, to Larry's point, definitely if you eat something and all of a sudden you feel sick, you know, a good idea might be not to eat it again. And 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 for my kids, I just try to again educate them when I see them grab the energy drink or the processed thing. I'll be like, "Oh, you're eating those chemicals." I try to educate them a little bit because I don't take that away from them from being able to enjoy a snack that they may want to enjoy, especially when we grew up the way we did. And I just help them understand that it's not the same as what we used to eat when we were their age. But with that said, obviously it's always a great time talking to you guys and everyone out there. If you like what we're doing, make sure you share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos. And until next time, thank you.